Howdy, everybody, and welcome to the first episode, or is this the second episode? Well, I think we'll call it the first episode of the Chip and Dale tutorial. Today, we are going to be visiting our workspace and starting off with a few basic objects. So, when I created the sample, so if you have downloaded the sample project, you'll be able to follow along with this. Otherwise, you just get to watch and enjoy what you see. So I've done a bunch of work in organizing everything in this latest game here. So you can see everything's nicely organized into their respective areas. And to make the base project that you will be working off of, I have deleted all of the objects that are associated with the game. So, let's see here. I need to start us off. Let's just add a few groups to the objects so that we can then place our objects into them as we go along here. So we have our game objects group. We have our players group. We have our room objects. We have our parents. And lastly, enemies. So the names I kind of just chose at random as I was working through everything, but hopefully they kind of give you an idea of what's going on, and then you can come up with your own ideas, I guess, later on. So let's see here. We have our rooms. So we have our init room here. It's a little bit too big. And we have size of 256 by 240, the resolution that you see for NES games. And beyond that, I have done nothing else with this room, and I've done nothing else with any of the other rooms. Everything else is done in code. The only thing I've done is change the width and height of rooms to 256 by 240. So we are going to want an init object here. So I'm going to call this create object underscore init. And what does our init object do? Well, it's very simple. All it does is create our objects in our init room in the order that we want them created in. So just drag and drop this anywhere you feel like it, and add a create event. So we're going to create a few objects, and we'll be going through these objects as we work through our project here. And we are going to be creating an object input, object display manager, object transitions, object stats, and object music manager. You'll recognize all of these objects from our previous tutorial, the Legacy of the Wizard tutorial. But I hope that I have evolved these objects a little bit so they will have new code and work in ways that are slightly different, that might be more optimized, might not be as optimized, who knows. Let's see, which one do we want to start with? I think we'll probably start with the display manager, just so that we can kind of see everything as best as possible when we are working through all of this. So let's create a display manager here. Object under display underscore manager. And add a create event to our display manager. Excuse me. Just a little yawn there. Ideal underscore width is equal to 256. Ideal underscore height is equal to 224. And this is how much you actually see of the game. So I'm going to do a little bit of copying here, because Alright, so we got view width, which is also equal to our ideal width, view height, which is equal to our ideal height, and we'll use these numbers later on with our camera and stuff, because we're going to be multiplying the ideal width and ideal height based by our zoom to be able to get our final values for how big we want our game to be on the screen. And display width, of course, display underscore get width. Get your monitor's display width. In my case, it'd be 1440p. So that'd be 2560 by 1440 as the height. And you can go run. I thought he finally fixed it so it wouldn't do that anymore, but it's still doing it. Oh well. Anyways, display width, display height, and zoom equals the floor of our display height divided by ideal height, which is a value that gets us the ratio number of this. And then I subtract a 1 from that. That is, the 1 is completely arbitrary. There we go. And that just shows it because I don't want it to be completely equal to my display height, because then the game gets hidden behind the taskbar down here, and I don't want that to happen. So, all right, next up, use the properties that we've set up. So window underscore set underscore size, ideal underscore width underscore times zoom underscore, ideal underscore height underscore times zoom again. So this will set the size of our game window to our ideal width, so 256, times our zoom number, so however many times we can fit our game into our monitor, minus 1. So it'll get us like 22, or, well, that'd be width, but we're going by height here because height is smaller, so it'd be closer to 1260 or 1220, somewhere around there. And then display underscore set underscore GUI underscore size. We want our GUI size to be ideal width, ideal underscore height, and surface underscore resize, application underscore surface to ideal width times zoom, and ideal underscore height times zoom. There we go. And last but not least, center me. 0 is equal to 1. And this will cause the game window to move to the center of your monitor on the next frame, because for whatever reason you can't do it on the same frame that you actually call this in. And I actually used that for some other things later on that I found where you have the same problem. So let's do that alarm real quick. And I think we're getting close to being done here. You can put some fancy text there if you feel like it to make it easier to see what you got going there. Okay, I think we're almost done then. Yep. So we just need to do our room start information. Add an event, user room start, and pound region camera end region if So if our camera object doesn't exist, then do some stuff. We're going to set up our camera here to be view underscore camera 0 equals camera underscore create. View underscore enabled is equal to true. View underscore visible equals true. So this will come back into here. This will essentially click enable viewports and then make this one visible for every single room as we go into it. Then camera underscore set view size. And this is where we use the view width and the view height variable that we set earlier. Then view underscore set underscore h port view underscore camera is 0 to view underscore height. And this is going to be important later on because we need to actually set our H port and our W port. Otherwise, we have trouble when we are trying to move around. If we were to, well, this isn't really being done in this project, but I found in other projects that if you were to try to be zooming your camera in and out, you have to set these values or else you'll have weird zooming issues. And we'll just do this. Camera underscore set underscore view position. Just set our camera view position to 0, 0. And theoretically, since we are creating this camera at the, well, we're creating the camera object, then, well, actually, I'll just put that in there as well. Since we are creating the camera object, then whatever we set it to right here doesn't really matter because the object camera at the end step event will change the position again to hopefully be positioned where our player is or wherever it's needed. Alright, so that's everything we need for a display manager. And we can change the way we view. Let me just give it a test real quick here. It's not really much going on with this yet. Oh, well, duh. Of course, it's not going to work because they got all sorts of stuff being asked to be created and junk, but none of it actually exists yet. Back here, okay, and do that. Just delete that completely. There we go. See, as you can see, our game resizes itself to fit our monitor fairly well. And I should mention down here in the options, I have set it up so that the it does not display the cursor, and it is a borderless window. And texture page is 4096 by 4096, though I don't really think that matters too much because I don't really have any textures that are larger than 2K or whatever, so shouldn't really make a difference. Anyways, next up we will, well, just so we have it available, we can do object underscore camera, just create that. There we go. Sprite camera. So that'll let you see where the camera's at. And we'll come back to the camera later on once we get done setting up all of our init objects. All right. So thank you everybody for joining me for this first episode, and good luck with your programming.